Do what thing again?
Yes, playing the harp for 5,000 years would suck.
That would suck. I can't imagine just praising God and playing a harp on a cloud forever. Like, what kind of heaven would that be for a human being? I don't get it.
Well, it wouldn't
And,
be.
and,
No,
and if I'm not me, why would I even want to go there and be not me?
Oh, I just got a tweet from Bree. Hold on. We might get a.
Here's one of the horrible things Christians normally say. You'll be so happy in heaven with God that you won't resent the fact that your grandma went to hell.
Oh my God, I talked about that. How that, like, oh my gosh, that is so triggering to me, and it comes from Jonathan Edwards.
One of the things I used to say to people whenever I would be, I was after leaving religion and not having the internet and being about, and anyone starts a religious conversation, I was like, right, you're, regardless of who they are, okay, you're married, you've got kids, you are a Christian, your husband or your wife or your partner is not, you both die in a car crash, you go to heaven, they go to hell. Are you genuinely happy? Do you not miss your fucking partner that you've had kids with? Do you not, like... And that was the conversation starter that I would go with. Because, like, how can you truly be happy, if the person you love more than anything else is being tormented? Like, you're going to spend your days just praising Jesus while your partner gets a poker up its ass? It's... Yeah.
Yeah, so go. It's okay.
I need to switch devices. So I'm going to hop out, but I won't have the link as soon as I leave, by the way.
Tweet at me, and I...
Can you get it? Okay.
Change the size.
No, you can't. There you go. Have peace, brother. See you around.
Bye. Nice talking.
Bye, Derek. He said, see you later, guys.
Good. I would hope so. So, after party where everybody come in and then the two people that joined left.
He's rebooted. That's not fair.
They're coming back.
Back will just rebooting. That's okay.
And I sent Bree the link, so hopefully they're coming in as well.
BrainBug Bree?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'd like to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, it's been a while because it's usually after 12. So yeah, they should have finished work. And there's...
I think Bree is brilliant by most measure.
There we go. Did they get the link? I think they got the link. Your message could not be sent? Why the fuck not? Alright, we'll try again. I don't know. Holy Spackle got me banned. She must have me blocked.
Bree!
Hello!
You guys don't have to kiss my ass to get me to come in. I'll come in anyway.
If speaking the truth is kissing your butt, you're a very fortunate person.
I was just wondering if he's got strawberry or... No, different conversation. Right, go on ahead.
Hi, I am not camera ready. Sorry, I am off work though. I get off work at 4:30 at Central Time now, 5:30 I guess Eastern. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant! So you're free after 10:30 then?
Yeah.
My time. Yes. With them.
Yeah.
Bree, would you like to join a quiz tomorrow? Would you like to be on a quiz team?
What time?
It'll not start to 5:15 your time.
Wow, that's amazing.
How long does it go for?
Close to 2 hours.
2 hours. Ooh. Let me get back to you. I'm not sure yet.
Just to confirm, it is going to be at 6:15 Eastern Standard Time. So that would be 5:15 your time, yes?
Yes.
Yes, just to make sure. So yeah, 5:15 your time, probably run 2 hours.
They're an hour ahead of me. You're 6 hours ahead of me.
Yeah. So yeah, we need a team. I also
sometimes
need I haven't done 2 categories questions yet. So
So who's on what are the teams so far?
I've got Atheist Edge, Jim Hall, and Hand Sanitizer.
I don't know who that is.
Hand Sanitizer. You know them. You do know them.
I love Han. He's one of my favorite chatters. He's always in my chat. He's so funny. He's very punny. He's
Right,
very,
very
very
funny, right? Let her sent me a message, okay? I was like, okay, we're moving it from 10:30 to 10 past or quarter past 11. Well, I'm talking my time, to make sure that we can get Jim Hall in. Your teammate's Jim, he's just got something on before it. And he was like, no bother. Can you send me some pictures of him naked? Because I always work better aroused.
Mm.
That was his response to that. But
I
Hans
know
is
who Jim Hall is. Yeah, I'm friends with him on Facebook, and we're in some groups and stuff together. I know Jim.
I think he's taken. I think he's to pick the daughter up from work, so he's not getting home to 4:45. So we've given him half an hour then of a leeway, so we should be fine. Jim Hall and Hans is on my team, and Savage is really struggling this month to get a team, so we're trying to get a team for Savage's side.
Is Richard going to be there?
Richard can't because he's working.
I cannot.
Oh yeah, I heard you say that earlier. Yeah.
We will change it 1 month to a Wednesday, Richard, so we can have you on.
Oh, sure. Just going to change it for me.
Yeah, sure, why not? It's only once a month. It's not a big thing.
I've still got my 6:30 regular on Wednesdays.
We'll sort something. So, Spackle, you said you'd some questions and revelations you would like to ask Richard.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that. Well, I think you brought up something that's interesting. When we read the Bible, one of the questions that you should be reading is, what are the audiences? Who is the author? Who are they writing to, right? So like typically like that would influence how you interpret, say, like church issues, you know, when you read Acts or something like that. So when you mentioned reading scripture and Revelation, and then you said it was we as humans, or we as in this time, I'm not sure, are not the intending audience. I was wondering, who do you believe it's written for?
That's a great question, and one I like answering. I think that if you wrote something that was instructional, including war tactics, eating habits, what you should and should not go near, things like that, all of that, as well as 613 laws that are supposed to be followed. I think if you wrote that for someone who couldn't do it, you're an idiot. And who the hell writes instructions for somebody who can't do it? Okay, just in principle, just as something obvious. Okay, so if I ask myself the question, who does it? Well, it's no Christian. It's no Jew. Ask them. They'll tell you they don't do it. They'll tell you that they try and that they fail. But if you ask them, what did anyone ever do it? They'll say yes. Well, the Christians will. They'll say Jesus did it. Well, then, if an intended work is for an apt student, then the intended work is for Jesus. The intended reader is Jesus and nobody else. It can't be somebody else.
So when you look at Revelation, there's different views of Revelation. People aren't, most evangelicals are not familiar with different views, but there are several different views of Revelation, and
Yes.
what most people are accustomed to is the amillennial, left behind stuff that kind of got popular like 1900s, and then 1960s got like really zoomed up, and they have no idea that there were other ways that people interpreted Revelation. One way was through idealism, and idealism says that Revelation goes through histories of time and not just a time in the future. I was wondering what you thought about that.
I think that human beings are very biased, and we want to confirm what we already believe. Okay. And I think what you're talking about there is the same reason that people say, oh, prophecy A has already been fulfilled, prophecy B, whatever, right? So I think it's just our biases. And I think it's anti-biblical to say these prophecies have already happened. And here's why I say it's anti-biblical. It says there'll be signs. It says an evil nation needs a sign. And by evil, it means non-believer in the right God. That's what evil means there. So evidently, the signs are for an evil nation. That's That's just so. It's just stated in the Bible. So then, if the signs happened, it would be to convince the people who don't already believe, not to confirm the believers. That would make no sense. And besides, the believers are convinced anyway. They don't need confirmed. They don't need convinced of something. They don't need a sign. So since we have atheists today, that is my timely evidence that there's been no signs. Now, let's say, for instance, take the opposite. Let's say biblical events of biblical proportions actually happened. People who are claiming atheist or agnostic right now, who are reasonable people, say, I based what I believe on what my senses can indicate and what my mind makes of them. It is evidential in my real state of affairs. Well, okay, the state of affairs would change and they would change their mind about the state of affairs. And that's perfectly reasonable, saying I need evidence. But it's evident the evidence has not been given.
I would agree. If aliens started to invade the Earth, I couldn't say no, it didn't exist. That's the evidence
Right.
that Richard would be correct. These motherfuckers coming up and ripping our families apart and alien overlords and all that.
Right. But it would. This is why you never see a question in the Bible, no matter whether they're a believer or not. You never see someone say, "Prove to me this heaven exists that you're speaking of," or "Give me evidence to angels," or "Give me evidence to this God of yours." Give me evidence to his power, sure. That you're referring to the right thing, sure. There's requests like that all the time. But it wouldn't make sense with heaven parked in the sky for someone to say, "Prove to me there's a heaven." Which is why the question is never presented. Because everybody in the situation can look up and see heaven and they know it exists. They just don't know what it is.
Do you think there's a portion of people, let's say, fast forward and more end time stuff happens? Do you think there's a portion of people that are going to still be like, nah? I mean, the same portion of people that are skeptical towards COVID or skeptical towards a globe Earth. Do you think there's going to be folk like that, and are they culpable?
Oh, culpable is an interesting word. Okay.
I mean, you have to understand that I spent years and years in Christianity, so yeah, that those concepts of
You're in
culpability
charge,
are going to
Spackle.
come
I'm
up.
letting the dog
Sorry.
out.
Oh, heaven forbid I'm in charge. Heaven forbid.
So there's been some interruption. Would you refresh me?
Oh, I said culpable, I guess probably is the residual of when I think about, like, Christian thought, right? There's a lot
No,
of
the whole
talk.
thing. Would you say the whole thing to the best of your ability, please?
Oh, there's going to be a percentage of people that are
Right.
going to
Okay,
have
I'm back on track.
these things presented to them and manifested, and probably still will deny it to some degree. Are they culpable? Is the word
Okay.
I phrased.
First, culpability, unlike American law, which assumes culpability. That is, you understood what you were doing and that it was wrong and you're responsible. Now we can put you in jail. But that's assuming culpability, and why, and not culpability is not always fully implied by the individual if they are incapacitated in some way, which is why you can have a plea of insanity. And a person might be insane and they might not deserve jail if they're crazy. They deserve hospitalization. And that's why recidivism and repeat offenders are given heavier sentences within the same offense, because they have been informed before. It is obvious they are like habitual, and they're trying to slap their hand harder to get them to quit the behaviors, whatever those behaviors may be. But that all of that is a sliding scale of culpability within the judgment of the judge as in application of the law. And that makes good sense. But here's the part that doesn't make sense. The Bible says that we, the people, are perishing for lack of understanding. That is things like knowledge and understanding, lean not upon your own understanding, etc., 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 right? So it is declaring us having limited knowledge. Not only that, but there's there's knowledge that's buried in the Bible that is not easily accessible, i.e., the hidden manna. Okay. So it says several times in several ways, you don't get it and you're not going to. Well, then how can you assign culpability? This is because of pride. When a person says, I am guilty, that's a pride problem, assuming that they know everything they would need to know to make a perfect decision. And of course, we don't. So are they culpable? They can't be. That's freaking impossible. You'd have to have heaven parked in the sky, and you were an ascended being into perfection and be familiar with all that in order to be culpable. Oh my gosh, that brings to mind the fallen angels who are given no forgiveness because they are culpable. Okay? But we're not angels. So culpability is out the window first, which is why the sins of the past are all to be forgiven. As far as from the east is from the west, they'll be out of the mind of God. That makes perfect sense to me because we're ignorant. That's fine. As far as the death tolls are concerned, 7,000 people dying, and if you juiced them, if you liquefied them in blenders, would have to be still a pretty small swimming pool in circumference for that amount of blood to come all the way up to the reins of horses, which is what it says in the book of Revelation. That 1/10 of the city falls, that 10th is 7,000 people, and the blood comes up to the reins of the horses. So I think what it's trying to do there is say, this is a really big amount of people dying, reins up to the reins of horses, but it's 7,000 people. Well, then apparently through the events, there's not that much death. Well, we've got 8 billion people on the planet, and 7,000 is a large number of folks, but it's a really, really small percentage of people.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not disregarding that 7,000 people don't die, but a person dies 7,000 times. I'm not trying to like back away from it or hide from it. It's horrible. Okay. Mm-hmm. But as a worldwide percentage of the total populace, that's a really, really small percentage. So then, if through the book of Revelation, it's describing actually very few deaths, and 7,000 is a lot, and that seems to be consistent. And then it says that 7,000 were 1/10 of the total population, or 70,000 people still on the planet. And that most of them repent for the intensity of the plague of a great quaking of the earth, spitting hail and fire mingled with blood, and rocks falling from the sky that weigh about a talent or about 57 pounds. Then I have to say, if most repent, most is greater than 50% definitionally. So of 70,000 minus 7,000, 63,000, most, which is more than half. So I'm lowballing. 31.5 thousand people refuse heaven at that point. But where did the 8 billion folks go when you've got 31.5 thousand people left on the planet? They only had one place to go. So that's a failure rating. One risk, just risk. It doesn't say they're going to hell. One risks hell out of 264,000 and 4.31 people. I haven't even met 260,000 people. I probably never met somebody who's going to hell or even risking it.
And in your view, is hell destruction? Like, or is it a place of eternal conscious torment?
Are you an annihilationist?
Yeah.
I'm not an annihilationist. I think that can't be justified in the Bible. So I have to bite the bullet on that.
So you do think there's a place of either a holding place or a place separated?
I don't believe in purgatory, which was invented by two evangelists in a foreign country in a moment's discussion. And I think there's no such thing. And I think there's nothing in the Bible about it for certain. But there is the confusion of the Christian between the lake of fire and or Sheol, the valley of fire, and hell. And that conflation, I think, is completely arbitrary and is a deep misunderstanding by those who are committed enough to the text to say I believe it, but not committed enough to do any research. Okay, like they're not that big into it, really. They're weekend warriors, something like that.
What verses are we looking at for depictions of hell in the original text? I mean, really, is there in the new? There's no hell in the Old Testament that I'm aware of.
Well, there's no word hell in the Old Testament. That's a fact. That doesn't mean it's not expressed.
What verses, though?
Well, there's references to Sheol, the burning lake, the idea of throwing trash into the fire. That's Old Testament as well. If you want me to find specific places, I could.
I wanted to know where I could read it, but that's all right if you don't have the
I would just use a Bible search engine. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I can't remember alphanumeric sequences that don't mean something to me.
For the word Sheol.
Yeah, you can look up Sheol.
So the term Sheol is typically Old Testament, and it's, my understanding is just translated like place of the dead. It's pretty vague. Right. And it's not mentioned too often. And so like to look that up, maybe bluebible.org or something, like where they take the etymology of the words. Sometimes they'll separate and they'll show you each time Sheol shows up in Hebrew.
Right.
Which one is it? Is it BibleGate?
You can use Bible Gateway or
Bible
Blue Letter Bible. Either Blue Letter Bible is probably better for what you're wanting.
Yeah, so Blue Letter Bible will take a word for you, and then it'll show you the Hebrew or Greek meaning next to it, which is kind of nice.
One of them I used all the time back when I was doing the monsters in the Bible thing. You remember that, Richard?
Yes.
We talked about having you come on and do it. Never got around to it, and then I just stopped doing the show. But
like the Leviathan, like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we talked about Leviathan and the Behemoth, and some
Richard
of the,
has some good fucking drawings.
Oh, let me bring them.
Have you ever seen them, Holy Spackle?
No,
Wait,
did you draw them or did you find them?
Can you make Richard full screen?
I may not have them. Don't even bother yet. My computer, one of my computers is in the shop, and this might be the one that doesn't have it.
May be able to make them full screen for everybody here, but not for the actual audience.
The audience can suck it. You invited them in, and they knew what they had the potential to miss out on Richard's drawing.
That got intense for you. Suck it.
Fuck off. There you go.
Yeah. Y'all had the opportunity to come in here. Everybody out there. He said,
wow.
Did that work? Screw the audience, as we've decided we're screwing the audience over. Can the people in the hangout actually see
the
that?
The audience knows I love them. Well, actually, I don't know half of them because you've made all these new friends. Since
one looks like like the one on the left looks like a serpent, just like a huge serpent, and then the one on the right looks like a Star Wars.
The one on the right is class. I would get that shit as a tattoo. Like that thing is class.
That thing is like, that thing's got like the jaw that retracts and then pops out. And then he's like kind of triceratopsy looking, like he's
pharyngeal jaw.
Come on
back. That's called.
Right.
So that's supposed to be Leviathan. Leviathan on the left there has apparent scales that are more like how we conceptualize a tortoise shell.
Leviathan is the serpent, yes.
The serpent, right?
Yes.
Well, a tortoise shell.
It's not a smooth skin. What's that?
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. And you apparently can't pry the scales apart. You can't. It's small arms weapons is not going to bother this thing. It's just going to laugh at you.
So a tortoise shell is made out of scutes, which is it's over a bone basically. It's a I think it's a chitin. It's either chitin or keratin. It's keratin. Mm-hmm. Yes, keratin over bone in plates. So is Leviathan's his scales keratin, like scutes?
It doesn't describe in that detail. What I'm saying is that the text indicates that this thing, its scales are so hard and so well, mucus joined to each other that they're not free floating. So they have like a seal on each other. You can't separate them. And this thing is so big and so heavy that going across soil, even soil with rocks in it, it leaves a shiny trail, you know, that reflects light. If you've ever seen heavy equipment drive on clay, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Some of the really, really heavy stuff will do that. And it has that kind of weight to it.
It crushes the quartz out of it and powders it, and so it sparkles in the sun. Yeah,
precisely.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I have lots of questions about these animals. The thing I have about Behemoth here, especially, is wanting to know where we're getting this crazy looking face from. Is that?
It's an artist's conception. I'm not the artist.
Okay.
I think my friend that did this for me did a great job of making it look like an umbering Ulk with no conscious thought.
Well,
I think he did a good job of that because its eyes look very dim and dull. Like he's just chowing down.
It's
and
very,
he doesn't give
very
a
much
crap about
brutish.
what's going on around him. Really,
I'm not disparaging the artist at all. I mean, that's
great art.
wicked. That's a nice piece of art.
Fucking cool.
I'm just thinking about the descriptions of these animals, and because as far as Old Testament
he took
verses,
some liberties.
as far as Old Testament
Did you
verses,
send?
go.
If I can just interrupt, whenever he drew these for you, did
Yes.
you send him look up this Bible reference, or did you send him what you wanted, your interpretation?
We were physically in a locale together. I went over the verses with him. I talked about my interpretation of it. Of course, he still felt like he had to express himself. These are not what I described exactly. For instance, Behemoth is way too small. A car being almost as big as his foot. That's way too tiny. That doesn't make sense. And Leviathan really is way too long in this drawing, being like a very, very long, skinny snake, like a non-poisonous snake would be.
Where I'm slamming down is when I'm talking to you about these are the problems you're bringing up with it. The interpretation that the artist put forth and drew on the paper, are you happy with it? Would you give
No, not at all. But I thought they're great art, and I can't draw better than that.
Yeah. So what you're aiming for in your head relative to the paper, it's about a 3 out of 10 out of 5 out of 10. It's not close.
He added a lot of stuff that wasn't there in the story.
Hey, Richard, can I do something fun real quick with you?
Yeah.
Can I read Job 40 to you verse by verse, and at each verse tell me if you think that it's literal or
Sure.
hyperbolic?
I'll subject myself to anything. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Look at Behemoth,
I'm
which
now
I
gonna
made
cut
along
that
with
out.
you, which feeds on the grass like an ox. So far, so good. Literal.
I think the word grass there means dead bodies.
Okay. Interesting.
Sounds charming already.
Not really, but necessary. It's a vacuum cleaner essentially. Go ahead, sir. Ma'am.
Okay.
Sir.
All right. What strength it has in its loins, what power in the muscles of its belly.
I think it's saying it's a really big, strong thing.
Okay. Its tail sways like a cedar. The sinew of its thighs are close knit.
Yeah, I think just like the upcoming line, bars of brass as bones, it's talking about just how unconceivably big and strong this thing is.
Okay. So yeah, its bones are like tubes of bronze, its limbs like rods of iron. Hyperbolic. That's just using those as synonyms for the strength and power of this.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you. It ranks first among the works of God, yet its maker can approach it with his sword.
Right. That is, I'm going to use the word Adam or God, who actually designed this thing, like genetically engineered it, is able to control it, but nobody else is.
Okay. The hills bring it their produce, and all the wild animals play nearby. Under the lotus plants it lies.
Lotus, I have an argument with, but
it can't be. Yeah, it can't be too big if it's laying under a lotus plant.
Yeah, it'd be really tiny, like about the size of a frog or something.
Yeah.
So under the fens or lotus or however it wants, it appreciates shade. Maybe even doesn't like direct sunlight.
It sounds like it's a friend to all the animals too, because they play nearby.
Yeah, it's not interested in eating live things because it's a scavenger. So it's essentially, opportunistic scavenging. The words hills and mountains in the Bible is actually the idea of a looming mountain that elevates itself. That would be heaven in the sky. When it says hills and mountains, that's referring to heaven being in the sky. And it's talking about the death under heaven, and that this thing's not interested in live animals.
All right. You want me to keep going? Or you good? Because there's some things we can roll
the after party. The after party's getting more views with you asking them questions than it did the show, man. Keep going.
Okay. All right. So there's a follow up to that verse about under the lotus plants it lies. It says hidden among the reeds in the marsh. So we have reeds, which again, if it's hiding in the reeds, it can't be too Titanic. If it's hiding in a marsh, it can't be too Titanic.
Right. So, if it means a literal marsh and literal reeds, it could not be a very large. Maybe the biggest thing it could be is maybe a hippo.
Yeah. Right. Something about that size, a megafauna, right. But not a kaiju sized.
But also part of the description of behemoth is that it wears the breastplate of the invisible wilderness. Now that took some discernment and reading and studying and looking up words and also practical thought, a little bit of logic. There is an invisible wilderness. We call it insanity. You literally can't go there and you literally can't see it.
Someone else's
but it does exist as a real wilderness.
Only to that one person, though.
What's that?
Only to that one person, though.
Yes, to that one person. That's right.
Yeah.
So I think the breastplate of the invisible wilderness is something like, if you look at this thing, it is so impressive, scary, unimaginably so, that you're likely to go crazy just seeing it. Now I don't know how big that is, but it's not a hippopotamus.
Yeah. Well, the next verse doubles down on the lotus. The lotus conceals it in their shadows. So, I mean, that, like you said, it like shade. I get that point. But again, a lotus. Well, you said
actually,
that you're not sure that that's the right interpret. You're not sure. What's that?
The lotus has a meaning.
Okay.
It doesn't have to do with a plant that grows in a swamp, however. But like the mandala, well,
oh, you're saying
let me show you. Okay. Let me show you my lotus. There you go. There's my lotus.
So that lotus is your symbol, that entire thing, which we know, which I personally know as your interpretation of a spaceship.
Heaven's arrival. Under the shade of the lotus is something that will be large swaths of land when each one of these smaller sections is 1,500 miles across.
So it could be the fucking Empire State Building. It's going to be underneath the shadow of that.
Sure.
Thing.
It could be under the shade of the lotus. All of New York simultaneously. It could be that big.
Yeah.
The poplars by the stream surround it. A raging river does not alarm it. Just more appeal to the size.
Well, Bree, the word waters in the Bible is defined as peoples and multitudes, nations and tongues. And you'll remember several times that there's a tumult on the waters or a storm on the waters, and this is common phraseology, and that's a type talking about how the people are very, very upset, like profoundly making objection to the situation.
Now, in the next verse, it says, "It is secure, though the Jordan should surge against its mouth." Now, the Jordan is a specific known body of water, right? I mean,
no, the word Jordan means the place of descending.
I'm just going to say,
is there a river named Jordan? Yes.
You don't think this is a reference to that river, though?
No, it's talking about a place of descending. It just got translated into English as Jordan.
The word in the Greek, the word in the Greek there, or the word in the Hebrew, or whatever it was different than Jordan as we would interpret the place.
Right, just like Kishon, Heshon, Tigris, Euphrates, those are not the right words.
No, but what I'm asking is, right, this particular word in this phrase in Job, I think it was that Bree said they were reading from.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So where she says Jordan, we can go back and we can look at another one where they're actually definitely, and we all agree that they're talking about a body of water, and that word and this word are different.
Well, it is a place. It is a place of a body of water where there is a descending, i.e., the earth.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. All right, that Jordan can be a place of that. What I'm asking is, in the Bible, in the same original language, can we find a word that says Jordan where we'll all agree that this is a body of water, and then this word that Bree is reading from now is different, or is it the same word? Because you can't make that giant leap and say they're talking about a spiritual thing or whatever it was, body of descent.
Every time, I guess I'm probably not getting the question because it's not like working for me really, and maybe I need you to expound on it. Maybe that's the issue. But when you see the word Jordan in English, it means the place of the descender. That's what the actual word is.
Bree is talking about a body of water. Yes or no, Bree?
The Jordan River, is
Yes,
a body of water.
Yeah.
And I think that would be my interpretation of what they're talking about here.
What I'm saying is there somewhere in the Bible, Richard, where they use a word to describe Jordan as a body of water that we'll all agree on? This word that Bree is using when she reads it out is a different word. It's the same word. It'll mean the same thing, which is a body of water, not a giant, massive thing. They're trying to relativize size here between lilies and...
No, we are the Jordan.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think I helped. I think I made it worse. I think I made it worse.
There's only one more.
I think I'm getting more confused. I'm sorry. I don't know why my brain won't understand what you're doing.
That's fine.
There's only one more verse, and then we can go back to. Can anyone capture it by the eye, or trap it and pierce its nose? That's one feature of your giant monster that I did notice. It didn't really have much of a nose.
Yeah. Yeah, the way my friend drew it, it has almost no nose that you could hook.
Yeah. Maybe that's why you can't hook him by his nose. It's like, joke's on you.
It's not because of this drawing, I'll promise. Yeah.
I'm not disparaging your artist. It's a cool freaking monster.
It's very cool. It's just, he took some liberties. He and I both know that. It's all good. So... yeah, it's about to start being very, very, the text right there is about to start being very sarcastic. Some Christians think that one of these two monsters is going to become food for the people. But it's being sarcastic, saying, what would you do? Make a friend of it? Hook it with a barb? Would you take it home and show it to your maidens? It's being sarcastic on purpose to say there's no way you're ever going to do any of this stuff.
I agree he's being sarcastic. This whole verse is sarcastic. It's God saying, could you do this?
Right.
No. Could you do that? No.
Yes, that's
I
right.
did.
That's right.
Yeah, he's being very is it facetious, I guess?
Facetious is the exact word I was thinking of. Yeah.
That type of language shows up in Job later too, where I call it the grandpa slap down, like where it says, like, where were you when I had the storage of heaven and I had this and I made this?
The lines
and it's very
and all that, yeah.
Very poetic and very like, well, of course nobody's out there cutting snowflakes, like, but just the way that it the language in Job is, there is sort of who are you? Like kind of aspect to Job. Like
the Yahweh of Job has a lot more personality than you see in other books of the Old Testament. He has a lot more of the, I would say, carryover from like a polytheistic pantheon, where he was kind of he was the vain one of his pantheon or whatever. That he was the
There's sort of like a swagger in Job. Yeah.
Dare I say chutzpah?
He was, yeah, there you go. He was cock of the walk, we'll say that, among his pantheon. So, yeah.
There is arguments to be made that it's the oldest book. If it's the oldest book, it would be the first one that would leave that sort of genre of pantheistic to move into monotheism, though.
Or they're all talking about the same God.
Yeah.
Shut up, Richard.
But he does have character in that book, I'll say that. That's my favorite book. I haven't read all of the books of the Bible, at least not all as a narrative, but I have read Job because
it's interesting that's your favorite, because there's a lot of people flee Job, especially Christians. A lot of Christians have trouble with Job, and they'll describe Job like the way Aaron Ra would describe Job. So like Aaron Ra reads it very simply and goes, well, obviously this is a bet between an egotistical God and Satan, and they read it as that way. And a lot of Christians actually fall into this trap of reading it that way. And I think you miss some of the beauty of Job reading it that way. But I think there's a lot of flight from Job because it is a really hard book, and it is difficult to read. And I personally am a fan of Ecclesiastes, if we want to go with depressive books.
Book of the Preacher.
But I've always been an Ecclesiastes person. But yeah.
You ever considered who the preacher is?
In the Ecclesiastes?
Well, it's actually not
Solomon?
Ecclesiastes. It's actually the Book of the Preacher.
Oh, okay. No, I never really thought about it that way.
Well, that's what its
Enoch's
original
not
title
canonical
was.
anyway. Then
Okay.
Job is my favorite. Enoch would be my favorite if you consider that canon, and some churches do. But
I think it was just as you say that, man, Cosmic Skeptic. I watched one of his old videos or something. He mentioned there's a second book of Enoch. It's like the similar writing but different story, or same story but slightly twisted or something. I'm not sure.
There's a lot of man-made works that people tried to confirm the Bible with through their own writings, but there's a lot missing from the depth of the works that shows it was not part. It should not be part of the Bible, including Second Enoch.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I didn't know of Second Enoch. I don't know. I didn't realize anything about it until maybe about a month ago. You know, the Book of Enoch was always the book.
I mean,
but
list
First
of crap.
Enoch, do you think that could be canonical?
Oh, it definitely is canonical in Ethiopia in the Catholic canon, and I think it should be canonical in the Bible. I think it should be included, except I think it'd be repetitive because it's the Book of Revelation. So if I had to pick between Enoch and Revelation, I'd have kept Revelation.
What do you think about the books that are included? Like, for instance, Eastern Orthodoxy includes the most books. So like you have first through third Maccabees. They have the third Maccabees even. They top the Catholic Church.
There's a
on that
third
one.
Maccabees. Okay.
Yeah, with the Orthodox Church, and then there's Prayer of Mancia and other ones. And do you think that those have a purpose as well, or have you not looked into them?
When I looked into the definitions and the usages of the words that were being used to describe war in First and Second Maccabees, I found out that it was war as in chopping off heads and killing folks. Mm-hmm. And there is no way to interpret it by the definitions of the words, even within context, to say that it's something else. So this is obviously, to me, written by human beings trying to confirm the Bible through other works, which it never needed. Mm-hmm. And it departs from the message in the Bible of causing people to change, and instead went with cutting off heads. So whoever wrote this didn't understand the Bible. They didn't understand the culture. They didn't understand the meanings of the words. They didn't understand the overall message of the Bible, and they wrote a bunch of bullcrap.
Hey, he's got on his opinion. I was curious to know.
I mean, I feel that way about the most of the books. That that there were just people writing. That's my opinion, though. That it's just cultural writings of mythology and law and all those combined. That's my interpretation.
I do know that it's only in early stages, Richard. But is it mainstream knowledge, so to speak, in the community with all those people? I wouldn't say the rewriting of the Bible, but you're going through and commenting, or you're adding your own interpretation to it. Would you like to describe it better?
Okay, we have three major sources on which all of the present Bibles are based. Okay. And when you go back to those sources, there's very little textual variation, actually. What I'm doing is I'm going back to the oldest, most confirmed textual reference that we have, and I'm looking at the culture, and I'm looking at the words used, and I'm looking at a small, medium, and sized and overall context, And that's what I'm talking about. And that's why I say it's a coherent Bible. It makes sense within itself. Now, what I hear Christians describing is not even coherent. They don't take every word into consideration throughout all of the text. They ignore major chunks of it. Ask a Christian what their theory is on the seven thunders. I dare you.
Seven Thunders. That sounds like an awesome album name.
Seven
Call my
Thunders.
album that.
Or what the word saint means. Do you know how many opinions you can get on what the word saint means? There's only one biblical way to look at saint. And it has nothing to do with people on this planet right now who consider themselves overly holy. It has nothing to do with that. The word saint and priest is interchangeable in the text and has to mean the highest under God who can enter into the temple. That's Jesus. So when some dude down the road tells me that I should call him a father, or some Christian on the internet tells me that I should call them a saint, I'm like, piss off.
Who the hell is telling you to call him a saint?
Saint Jill?
That's gross.
No, but with the point I'm trying to put across is, Richard,
Beckel,
you're not doing you're not doing a rewriting. You're doing like a director's cut sort of commentary as it goes.
It's going to be the Madsen Bible.
Well, there's never going to be a Madsen Bible. I promise you that.
Wait, are you naming off saints? I'm confused.
The original point of me asking Richard the question was, what was Richard doing? I don't think that came across. I think a tangent into we all hate triggered as Lord. But well, what I was Richard is doing not a rewriting but a commentary and putting his view.
I'm actually going back to what is more original. You can watch several conversations of me talking to philosophical Jews and them agreeing with every point I make. I've never studied Judaism. I've never been a Jew.
I've never been a Jew either. That's something we have in common. See, we can find common ground.
Rob,
we can find things.
My beard's nearly as nice as Richard's. You know, we have common.
No, Robbie, no.
One of the things that's interesting about Judaism is they seem more comfortable, and this is just my brief study of Judaism, trying to make sense of Christianity and going back and going, well, what do they believe? And trying to figure out, why is there such a hard stop between the Old Testament and the New Testament? That makes no sense whatsoever. So what is about Messianic Jews? What did they believe and things like that? But what's interesting is, like, Jews are so much more comfortable with wrestling with God and questioning and understanding suffering.
If I can just confirm, Richard, we have for you, 10, 15 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You know what biblical name you just quoted by definition when you said they're okay wrestling with God?
He who wrestles with Jacob? Is it Jacob or Israel?
That Israel.
Yeah.
That's why his name is changed to Israel.
Yeah.
That is literally what the name means.
He who wrestles with God. But that literally has been in their writings, them wrestling with God. Like, they don't have all the answers. Right. And they seem to be okay with it.
Yeah.
There was? Cool.
They were half naked out in the desert.
They're making their own warm oil that way.
Yeah, you see that thing, too much warm oil, you end up like sandpaper.
The reason why I want to contrast that is that Christians like to have an answer for everything, and I think an apologist said something. I think they wrote a book called "The Sin of Certainty," and I thought it was funny, just the phrase "the sin of certainty."
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, right. But there is this need to be certain, to have like your God in a box and your theology in a box and everything kind of in a line, and have this really big. And if you're not certain, that means you have doubt and there's a hole in your faith, and really different relationship with God. And I just think God is bigger than that. And that's almost my 2 cents. If there's a God, he's bigger than this. So.
Just to give context, there is just, if I can just interrupt and say, holy, it's very rude of me, holy spackle. I have heard you say tonight, Christians believe this and Christians believe that. There is some new people in the audience, and it does seem that a lot of the things that you have said tonight would be an atheistic point of view, but you yourself are not an atheist, just to confirm that.
I am not an atheist. I believe very much so that there is a God and a creator of some sort. I just don't think he walks with me and talks with me and tells me he's my best friend. I don't have him in a pocket. I don't think
You're
if
a
we cannot.
deist?
Yes, I'm a deist. I think that if we don't understand God's nature and we still don't understand how things work on this earth, let alone in the cosmos, how are we supposed to walk over and go, yes, I understand everything about God? It just doesn't make any sense to me, like to say that.
But it makes us uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, it does. It's not a comfortable position to have.
No, nobody I was going to say nobody likes being uncomfortable. Some people are weirdos looking at Brie. People
some
like
people
that.
are weirdos.
People like the blanket. That comfort. That
Yeah.
that fallback
Sure.
nature. It's. I look at it differently. And again, I'm just going to be an asshole, and it's my channel, and I love my daughter. But she asks me questions. If I don't know, I'm going to go look it up. So the next time she asks me, I know. She drives me to learn. But I know I
Right.
never know everything. But it's okay to say I don't know. Something with Richard's friend that was over earlier. I don't know if he's comfortable sharing his name or not, but was on earlier. We had a conversation and this, that, and the other before we went live. That's why we were fucking 7 verses off when we actually started the stream. But he said at the end he doesn't know. When we were talking back and forth and we questioned for the short period of time, and he said I don't know, which means that man is a genuine person who's open to conversation. Obviously, I should have accepted that knowing that he's friends with Richard, but it should be okay to say I don't know. The idea
It's
that
uncomfortable, though, isn't it? In a way, it's hard to sit with that.
You
Yeah.
know
Not
what
if
I
you're
like about deism is that it's as much open to something written by H.P. Lovecraft as it is to anything written by Mark, Matthew, or John.
Well, what I'm going to do is we're going to work around the room. I'm going to leave Richard to the end because I know Richard has to go and get ready. He probably wants to have a smoke before his new show, so that takes at least 10 minutes. We have to be respectful of Richard, All hail the beard. All hail the beard. Bree, have you anything coming up on your channel?
Oh, I got my Saturday stream on Saturdays at 9:30. We usually go about 2 hours or so. We talk about all kinds of fun stuff. This week I got atmospheric jellyfish on the cutting room floor right now. So we are going to be
Atmospheric jellyfish. Are we on Venus?
Wait a minute.
Are we on Venus?
No, this is you have to come and watch and find
I'm
out.
excited. I'm excited. Right, okay.
Oh, there's so many things that I'm going to be going over this. I keep loading my show up with too much stuff to talk about and not being able to get through it in my time. We have a lot of fun. A lot of people have been showing up in the chat and they're really engaging, and it makes it last longer too. Other than that, I also have I do the crypto corner segments on Friday nights at 8 p.m. It's a premiere of it, and I kind of hang out with the live chat and watch it with you. So.
Oli, have you anything coming up that I'm allowed to mention without getting comeback?
No, I don't have anything in the works right now.
Covent, that's what it is. Covent, not censorship. Covent.
Covent is like when you merge Kent Hovind together with COVID. You get
Which is
Covent.
probably pretty
I
appropriate.
can't not look. I said
Yeah.
it with an N at the start. It kept going. It's now in my brain pattern. I don't type it with an N,
Covent.
but I always fucking say it with an N. All right, I've been shouted at it since the damn thing came out. All right. As I said earlier on the previous show, we've got all going well. If Bree, if you are available tomorrow, that would be fantastic, because then we only have to find one more person. But all going well, we find someone else to join for Cannon Wars. We will be having Cannon Wars tomorrow night. And then me and Richard, Tuesday, Richard, provided no more pipes blow.
It's very unlikely another pipe is going to burst in her house.
Okay, so Tuesday back again at 10:30 UK, 3:30 for Richard, 5:30 for Eastern Standard. So yeah, other than that,
I gotta go. Ian's stuck in the snow.
yeah, we're ending now anyway, Bree. So
Gotta run.
By the way, in America, they say it 5:30, not 5:30. 5:30 is 4:30.
Why would 5:30 be 4:30?
Just believe me.
You're crazy, Richard, but we already established that. So
I thought 5:30 would be 2:50.
Oh, good one.
Oh, right. I'll put the link. Right, there you go, Savage. You can jump in. But we're going to end now anyway because Richard has another show. And it's probably all going to get an awful lot worse now. Holy has promised me some nudes. I don't know why. She just maybe feels guilty over Scotty. I don't know. It's all.
It's a really good way. It's a really good way to like get money. It's like people give me money not to give them nudes. So it's, you know, it's a really good way.
I want to take advantage of an unusual situation here. You have a lot of listeners that would be hearing me say this right now, now and in the future. All together, gosh, you're going to sit there and shake your head no, who might enjoy coming on to my show and arguing with me about what the Bible is talking about and the truth values of it. I am offering myself up to be subjected to exactly that. I'm not going to get personally offended by anything, whatever you might say. Hey, look, minnow. I'm not going to get offended by something you might personally say. I appreciate the opportunity to address individual people, and I'd like the chance to do that.
I appreciate that you're always respectful and treat us
well. I love you. Seriously, I love you.
On that note,
I know we didn't get to grow up together, but I do love you.
I'm really trying to convince Fabio to come and have a conversation with you, and he's just like, I don't know where to start, and I think you and Fabio would have.
Fabio,
I know a place to start. In the beginning.
No, he would be pedantic about that. This guy's literally a Sith Lord, but it's.
When you say in the beginning.
I'm all about that argument.
No.
The word create right there.
I think that would that would be an amazing conversation, because if anything, Richard, right? Whenever you put your arguments across, and we'll finish in this because I think this is a good critique of a compliment to Richard. When Richard puts down his beliefs and Richard puts down what he says, he doesn't end up with the standard God of the gaps or anything like that. Richard always has, I wouldn't say a fallback, but aliens are more probable than God and stuff like that. He's logical. He goes through it. It's very hard to disprove Richard because he spent so long thinking about this. And
that last part was not true.
Fuck off, right? Giving you a compliment. Shush, you're interrupting my trail of thought. Lost it now. You're an asshole, right? So bye.
It's hard to argue with because it's plausible in reality, but I didn't come up with this.
The reason that I think that you and Fabio would have a good conversation is because I don't think Fabio would slam you or poke you and annoy you on what you believe. I think he would be more of a person on right. How did you come to that conclusion? And let's poke at the logic of it. So I think it would.
He would come and try to push all the buttons and flip all of the knobs and see what they all do.
Right on.
Yeah.
I think for what you're generally used to, it would be someone come out like we've done tonight and go, what is Revelations about? Show me this. I need a cigarette. And then, you'd have to leave. So, Richard, it's been nice having you on. I'll see you looking at the clock.
Peace and respect, brother.
Everybody.
Peace and respect to you, Richard.
Love your show, Minnow.
Thank you.
Fan. Love it.
It's all about the mom. It's all about the moms,
Yeah, your mom's a great person too.
My mom is amazing. She's really the star of the show, for sure.
Yeah.
Right, everybody, thank you very much for coming. If I can find OBS somewhere in this fucking mesh of screens, and again, I really should put the outro at the bottom. Bye, everybody. Thanks for your shows.